it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button below right here, right now. Please hit that bell icon so you get notified of every time I go live like now, or I post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're finding the content useful, helpful, insightful in any way, shape or form as we go along. If you didn't know, I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of Asexual Perspectives, 47 Asexual Stories. I'm also the founder of Asexualise.com and the founder of Asexualise Academy. So tonight I have a movie review for you, and this is The Sorcerer's Apprentice. So The Sorcerer's Apprentice is a Disney movie. It's made by Disney, and it's not animation. It's actual people in there, and the main star of the show is Nicolas Cage, who plays Balthazar. So if you're into wizards and magic and special effects, you will enjoy this no sex movie, no sex film, especially if you're asexual. If you didn't know, asexuality is a sexual orientation that's a lack of sexual attraction, and I don't get the need, urge, or want for partnered sexual intercourse. Sex doesn't do anything for me, and I just want to enjoy my time having non-sexual fun. And I specifically look for videos that don't have any nudity and don't have any sex in them. And this film has no nudity and no sex in it whatsoever. And it still has a love story. Well, you could say it has two love stories going on in the movie. So this is very interesting. No sex, but love. And this is what I like, you know? You can have love without sex, despite what you've been conditioned to believe otherwise. Right, so Balthazar basically is one of the apprentices of Merlin. And Merlin has like three apprentices, and Balthazar is one of them. And Balthazar has has these other two that are apprentices with him for Merlin. Unfortunately, one of them ends up being really, really bad. And so what happens is there's actually another one. There's like a fourth person thrown into the mix. So that was a little bit confusing for me at the beginning. But basically, there's two people who are doing bad sorcery. They kill Merlin. Yes, they kill Merlin in the beginning of the film. If you don't like spoilers, by the way, don't watch this. Don't watch this because I spoil the movie. So yeah, basically they kill Merlin off in the beginning. And what happens is there's a woman who's one of the sorcerers, along with Balthazar and this other guy. And basically the woman has to suck this other woman up, who's a bad sorcerer, into herself in order to kind of save the world. And what happens is, in order, you don't realise till 3/4 of the way through the film, really, that he is in love with this other woman that sucked the evil person into her soul to save other souls. And he hides her in this like jar thing. It looks like one of those like dolls where you literally take the dolls off one by one, the wooden dolls, and you got hidden layers. So anyway, he captures her in this container, and each of the evil sorcerers are captured in this like doll, if you know what I mean, different layers of this doll, this wooden doll. And so basically he gets told by Merlin, when Merlin dies, Merlin says, takes off his dragon ring and says, the person who wears this ring, who it fits, will be the only one who can defeat this evil woman that the good woman sucked into her soul. That's they've both gone into this this doll container, basically. And so anyway, so what happens years later is Nicolas Cage, who plays Balthazar, has been looking and looking for this successor to Merlin, has been trying to find this apprentice sorcerer that will succeed everyone else in killing these evil sorcerers, basically, and who will basically be able to save the world in the future. And he searches for 1,000 years and he cannot find the right person. And that what happens is there's this schoolboy and he's on the bus, and his name's Dave. He's very geeky, very nerdy, very nice, cute looking, and he is on the bus, and there's this girl called Becky, and what happens is he really likes her, she seems to really like him. He writes her a note saying, will you be basically, do you want to be my friend or girlfriend? He gives it to her, and she puts it on the side on like this paved bit. Well, it's, you know, like they're out in the open on a field trip after they get off the bus, and she gives him the note, but instead of handing it to him, she puts it down on this, like, I don't know, concrete or some piece of outside building, you know, pavement type thing, but she puts it down anyway. It blows away, and so Dave, who's a young boy at that time, fights hard to try and find the note and to stop it blowing away, basically. And yeah, so he travels and walks away from his tutor, you know, all his student colleagues. Bear in mind he's about 9 or 10 at this age, and he literally leaves the people behind and goes off, and then all of a sudden he goes to this dark place with like gargoyles, and you know that it's kind of sinister, and he goes into this shop, and the note is blown through this shop, and he's looking for this shop, and this shop is like really kind of sinister with dolls' heads and looking a bit horrifying. And then Nicolas Cage, who plays Balthazar, is actually in charge of this shop, and he comes across as being a bit horrible to Dave in the beginning, but it's for his own good, basically, because he wants to see if the dragon ring will fit him, because he believes, like I believe in real life, there are no coincidences in life. Everything happens for a reason. Like, every person you come across, everything you meet, everything you do, whatever happens in your life is always there for a purpose. I totally believe that. And so in the film, Nicolas Cage, the boy said, oh yeah, it's just a coincidence that this happens to have come into your shop. And he's like, it's a coincidence, right? And so he gives Dave, the young Dave, the dragon ring. The dragon ring fits him perfectly, and he knows he's going to be the sorcerer's apprentice later on. He's going to be his apprentice, basically, that succeeds Merlin later on in his life. But what happens is Dave, as this 9 or 10-year-old boy, he gets told by Balthazar to leave everything alone. Balthazar then goes into another room, and he puts his hand on this wall to try and get something out of it, some kind of old thing to get out of it, to, you know, to basically, you know, give, I think, to the young Dave. And then Dave doesn't leave things alone. He knocks over this French doll thing, which it's like a French doll, you take off the different layers, and basically yeah, it's kind of like creepy, because when this doll comes apart, all the old souls that were evil sorcerers come out of this this French doll, this like maid thing. It comes out of this wooden thing. But first of all, there's all these beetles that scurry everywhere, like cockroaches, I think they are. They're not beetles, they're cockroaches. That's right. As far as I know, they're cockroaches. And anyway, they come out of the out of like this, it looks a bit like a French maid, and they come out of it, and this guy who's one of the bad apprentices, the comes out of it, and he basically tries to fight Balthazar, because Balthazar knows that there's other souls to come out this container, and he has to get it back so he can keep the lid on it and not let any more souls out that are bad sorcerers. And anyway, the boy Dave has to get out of the way, because Balthazar in the fight gets, you know, the whole place starts catching on fire, and he's like, Dave, leave now. So Dave gets this like French made container, and he just chucks it across the road and forgets about it, but he's still got the dragon ring on. So then it fast forwards to 10 years later, and he's a regular guy in like college by this. I think he's in college, or is he in uni? He might be in uni he's 20 basically. And so he's doing these he's studying, and he's taking this class which is to do with like physics. He's a science nerd basically, and he's very, very good at science. And he meets the girl Becky years later there, and she remembers him, because what happened when he was with Balthazar in this scary place which had all these weird oddments and stuff, which is where he found like this French maid thing with the old souls, which he chucked across the road in the end before he left. What happened was, when he comes out, because he thinks the whole place was on fire, he breaks things, which is, he says, and then basically he's like, he's wet himself. So it's like, oh, he's saying he didn't wet himself, and no one believes him. They all laugh at him. So basically, he doesn't have a girlfriend or anything. He just loves his physics, his science. He's really nerdy. And Becky, which was the girl on the bus that he gave that note to, he didn't know what she said, whether she said, yes, I will be your girlfriend, or just your friend. And the girl shows up in his class. And so she does remember him. And so what happens is, throughout the film, he becomes a lot more stronger. Not because he's basically Nicolas Cage, who plays Balthazar, meets up with him again when 10 years later. First of all, his life's normal, and then all of a sudden he went in this like jar, this big wooden like antique thing, which is like a massive kind of like jar thing. He went in this with the other guy who is fighting him, and then 10 years later he comes out of it. The other guy comes out of it, and he comes out of it, and then the other guy's after Dave to find out what he did with like the French maid that he chucked across the road, that's got all the other souls in, that he wants to free to let evil into the world. Well, Balthazar is a good guy that wants to save the world. And so anyway, Balthazar has to find Dave before this other guy does, and Balthazar then has to teach him all the tricks of the trade of being an apprentice sorcerer. He has to tell Dave that you are the chosen one. Dave doesn't believe it. Dave tries to fight it, and he's like, oh, and he goes through this strict regime of with Balthazar, trying to learn the secrets of sorcery and the powers of the ring. And Balthazar says, when you have accomplished all your training, and when you are truly the chosen one, when you truly are fulfilling your role in your destiny, basically, you will be able to do magic without even having the ring on. And for a long time, Dave's really frustrated because he can't do magic without the ring, and he wants to date Becky. He didn't take it. He lost his chance 10 years ago. At first, he thinks, I've lost her, and then he just like can't help but see her and speak to her, because he's fallen completely in love with her. And the good thing I love about this story, especially from an asexual point of view, is Dave is very nerdy. Becky, who's the one that he is in love with, this girl here, she is obviously pretty to what a lot of guys would think. I'm not attracted to women, but I know a lot of guys would find her very pretty. And so what I like about her is she cares more about Dave, his personality, and the fact he's different, than any looks, right? She likes him for who he is, and she cares about him. She really likes the fact he's different. She really likes the fact that he's a hot mess sometimes. The fact that he's so clever and intelligent with physics, and with electricity, and with just science, and with just the art of science. And he's really, she loves him for who he is, basically. And that's what I really loved about this movie, because I know a lot of asexual guys can be very nerdy and very geeky. And I don't know why, but there seems to be this kind of thing in society where nerdy and geeky guys aren't usually ones that get the girl or something. But for me, I like a geeky or nerdy guy, if you want to call it. I don't even call it that. I call it a really intelligent guy. To me, someone who's great with science, who's great with, with physics, or great with, that's not my thing. I'm creative. I'm a writer. I'm not good at that type of thing. But I'm really attracted to someone like that, because then I'm not the same as a movie, because I find them super intelligent. I know quite a lot of guys who are engineers, for example, and I really admire them. I admire the intelligence it takes to do that. It fulfills my intelligence traction need. I really love it, and I love the guys that are busy doing their own thing, and living their own dream, their geeky dream, their like website dream. They're coding websites, and they're creating things, and they're building software, and I just love stuff like that. I find it super, super attractive. So it makes me feel so good. So I don't know why there's such a stigma. People call them like geeks and nerds, because kind of the geeks and nerds are given kind of a bad rep, and it's like, why? They're beautiful, intelligent human beings that do a lot more with their life than a lot of people that just sit down and watch TV all day and don't do much and don't talk about anything and don't learn or grow themselves. I'd much rather have a geeky type of guy. So anyway, yeah, and you find that Balthazar is in love with the woman who originally took the soul of the evil female sorcerer and is trapped inside this French maid wooden, place where the evil souls are usually gone. But she is a good soul, but because she had the evil soul sucked into her to save mankind, because this evil soul and sorcerer killed Merlin, basically, she sacrificed her own life to save the world. So Balthazar wants to get her out of this jar, and you find out at the end he wants to take the evil soul that she put into her body so that he dies and she lives. So there is two love stories going on. There's Dave, who gets stronger and stronger with Becky, and there's Balthazar, who's the love of his life. He's trapped inside like this French made jar, basically. And it's not called a jar, it's called something I can't even remember, which is it's called something really interesting. And yeah, thanks for the thumbs up. And so, I just really, really, really like it. I really love the film, The Sorcerer's Apprentice. There's some fantastic special effects in this film. Fantastic. There's like a sword that's like in the air on its own fighting Balthazar. There's this wonderful scene where Dave abuses his powers, because what happens is he's got a date with Becky. Becky's coming over. Balthazar's like not really wanting Becky to be there, because Balthazar's wanting him to concentrate and not be distracted or being a sorcerer. But Dave's so in love with her. But what happens is she comes over to see him, which he said to her, Dave said, come over to my place about 8. It's 7:45. And he realizes that he's got, because of the magic stuff he's been learning, he's got gooey stuff all over his shoes, and he can't see Becky like that. So what he does, he abuses magic and he makes the mops come alive. It's really an incredible piece of cinematography. And I've got because it's a Blu-ray and DVD edition, I've got the special bonus features which show you the making of this. Is absolutely sensational. It's one of my ultimate favorite scenes in the whole movie. And literally Dave gets all these mops to basically clean the whole floor and everything. He sets the taps, the taps are going, the mops are coming out by themselves and like walking along like they've got little feet. And and they're just coming out, and it's like they've got minds of their own, but there's so many of them. And what they do is they, the water tap switches on and the whole place gets flooded, and there's all these mops that are literally mopping in the wet, and the whole place is like swimming in water. And he goes up to Becky, who's like, there like early before 8 o'clock, and she comes up to this like kind of like there's like this cage thing. It looks like it's like an old lift or something, but she comes down in this like thing, it's like an old cage lift. He goes to the door, and the mops, because they're moving and they're like got personalities of their own, they're like tapping his bum, and he's like looking really awkward like this, and she thinks he's got some serious issues, and he goes, basically he has to say in the end, I have got serious issues and I've got to go, but so he can't have his date with her. But it's so funny because all the mops and everything have just come alive, and they're completely going off on their own, and he has no control over them whatsoever. And even the light switches, the sockets are getting water in them, even they've got little faces that move. It's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. And it's just so funny. Honestly, it's the most funniest part of the whole movie. I couldn't do nothing but laugh. I mean, it's a really good film. I would definitely recommend it. There's this one part where this bull, which is a statue, this bronze bull, comes to life. And it is just amazing. Again, that is a great piece of cinematography. Absolutely fantastic. There's an eagle, which is actually like a statue on the end of a building, and the eagle comes alive. And that's what Balthazar uses to, one of the things he uses to actually, go from place to place. He flies on this like mechanical eagle, and then he brings Dave on with him. And so it's very, very, very interesting. If Dave, obviously, at first, he doesn't want to be the sorcerer. He's like, it's not me. I'm too nerdy. I'm too geeky. He thinks he's weak. But in the end, he becomes super strong, because not just because of the ring, but because of the things he's been taught through the experiences with Balthazar and because of love, because love conquers all, because the evil, one of the evil sorcerers, the male evil sorcerer, gets hold of Becky, and in order to save Becky, he has to sacrifice the ring and the French maid with like all container with like all these people in. All these people, well, they're souls, you know, evil souls and sorcerers, so they are people, but do you know what I mean? Not normal people, and whatever normal is, you know. And so yeah, he gives them away, and Balthazar's like, I would do the same thing if I were you. And so it's very, very clever. And in the end, all the souls have been released, and the horrible, horrible evil soul then is trying to let all the dead souls and evil souls out in the world, casting this really strong, like, kind of like star with a circle in the middle of all evil spirits, and they're all about to pop up. And Dave gives Becky a quick science lesson, and basically says they're trying to use the satellites to, like, you know, amplify what they're doing so they can make it happen. So we asked Becky to go up this great big tall outside place to get this satellite dish moved, and she's scared of heights and she has to go up there, whilst he has to go and deal with the sorcerer woman, basically without the ring, because he's given the ring away. It's a very, very good ending. I love the ending. Very kind of like interesting, and it's interesting that he uses science to actually overcome the evil person in the end, not just magic, science, you know. And she goes, oh, because the evil one goes, oh, you know, you're no match for Merlin, you know, Merlin's this, that, and the other. He said, yeah, but I've got magic, the magic of science basically on my side, you know. And so he uses both magic and science, and the film is very interesting because it's all based on magic and science mixing together. And that's what I loved about the film as well. There's so many good things about this film. I can't rave about enough. I've already watched it a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. It's a really, really, really interesting, fantastic film. I definitely say it's an asexual film because there's no sex in it whatsoever. You know, there's no there's absolutely no nudity whatsoever. There's no inclination to take people, you know, to take each other's clothes off. It's the type of love that's lasted years. Like he has loved this woman for 10 years. It's been stuck in this French maid object, you know, basically, and he wants to free her, you know. And so he's been in love with her for like 10 years. And Dave, ironically, has also been in love with Becky for 10 years. They've both got this in common. So they've both been in love with women for 10 years. Without there being any sex involved, and they haven't been with other people. They are dedicated to these people. Their love is forever for these people, and that's what I love about this film. You know, I appreciate that not every asexual is romantic, but if you just think about the fact it's got love without sex, and this is for 10 years with 2 people in it, I think this is definitely an asexual type of film to watch. You know, it's got everything. It's got magic, science, really, really funny scenes. It's got really lovely special effects. It's got great characters, a cute guy. Obviously, women and guys will like the women, or whoever likes, whatever gender likes women, will find the women good looking, I'm sure. And the whole story, the nerdy, the geeky stuff, the love, everything is just literally magical about this film. I cannot rave about it enough. I really enjoyed it. You know, I've seen this film absolutely years ago, and I didn't even realize I had it till a few weeks ago. And then I'm like, oh my god, I didn't realize. And I started wrapping on. I think I was bought it years ago, and I forgot I got it. So I unwrapped it, and like, this is really cool. It's very action packed. I would say it's good because it's got a lot of story in there and action. So it's got story, action. So you're kind of like, I'm thinking I need the toilet, but I can't go because it's too action packed. And it's kind of like, it has story, and then you think, all right, okay, I can have a break now. And then you're like, oh, then the action comes. Oh, a bit more story. Oh, then the action comes. And it's kind of like this all the time, which I really liked. I thought it was good balance of story and magic, you know, and action. There's car chases in it. There's a really good part where basically the car goes backwards and they go into like this mirror image world that as part of a car chase. That's very, very interesting. So everything's backwards and flipped around. That was a really good special effect as well. So, but the funniest one was the one with the mops. You just got to see, if you find a clip of the mop scene, it's really, really funny. And the guy Dave, when he's when you go behind the scenes, he really loves his character. It's almost like he is his character. Do you know what I mean? He's that similar when you look at him in the interview, behind the scenes footage. So if you're gonna get this, I'd highly recommend you get the Blu-ray edition or with the bonus features. I will put a link in the description after this video's finished processing if you want to grab a copy of it. It's really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I'd highly recommend it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful, helpful, insightful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button. And please hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go live like now or I post a new video. I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Thank you. Thanks for the thumbs up. Lots of love. Bye.